Yeah, a
How
lot of
did
different
you find?
names. A lot of different names, but Ed and Evan are usually my go-tos.
Okay, cool. So I found you on Instagram after your latest accomplishment of spending 24 hours on the treadmill straight, obviously with the only exception being bathroom breaks. So tell me how that came about and kind of take me through this journey of, how did this first conceptualize into your mind in the first place?
Yeah, dude. First off, thanks for the kind words, but yeah, man, it was a completely random idea that I had running on the treadmill one day. I was really just praying. I was like, Lord, just give me an opportunity to give back to a local nonprofit who needed some help in a season, financial wise, and it literally just came about. I don't know why 24 hours came into my head. I'm usually known for just doing some psychotic, sick, just endurance challenges that I just know are possible. So I was running one day and I already hate the treadmill. So I was like, how can I make something that I already hate even harder and just translate that into something to give back to my community? And it just completely just fell into place with having like an event. My gym was on board, my owner was on board, and everything just continued to fall into place. So I was like, we're just gonna do it. It's laid out right in front of me, and it just ended up working out. Um, which
Did
was
you
so
market
insane.
it? Did you have people around there like supporting you on the day of?
Yeah, it was insane. I had a ton of people market it and just blast it on social medias, but it was only 4 weeks before. Like I had like a 4 or 5 week training block where I ran on the treadmill for 7 weeks straight without running outside and doing nothing else but running on the treadmill and getting my mind mentally ready for the challenge, which played a huge impact in the end for sure.
It was the lead up like obviously not harder, but just as equally challenging as the actual challenge itself?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll put this in perspective. I did three ultra marathons 3 weeks in a row. I did a 50K and then I did 40 miles and then I did 50 miles all in the middle of the night. So just to truly get my mind just right for what was to come. And it definitely helped in some capacity, but there's truly nothing like doing the 24 hours because I'll tell you probably when we get to talk about the specifics of it, but just you can try to plan and plan and plan for an ultra marathon, but something's going to hit the fan and something's going to go wrong. And a lot of stuff did. So.
So tell me about the actual day. What happened? How did it go? And take me through kind of the hour by hour timeline of, you know, hour six. How are you feeling? And then obviously down into, because it's not the same as a marathon. People talk about a marathon being hard. Hour three, there being a wall at mile 20 or whatever. Well, you went 133 miles. So I can't imagine how many different walls you had to break through.
Yeah, so early on, man, my stomach turned, and when ultra marathon, when your stomach turns, you're in some deep crap. Like you're going to be in a battle all day. So within the first hour, I made the bonehead decision of using a different gel that I wasn't used to in a while, and I wasn't training with it. So I'll humbly admit that I made the wrong decision for that. And my stomach immediately knew or let me know that it was not going to handle it well. So already had some GI issues within the first hour of the 24 hours. So you put that in perspective, there's 23 hours of just straight stomach pain. So that was already off to a terrible start, but body was feeling good. I didn't change within my original goal was the first hour was to go like 95 grams of carbs an hour, which was, I thought was my stomach was going to settle, but immediately had to make a transition with my nutrition plan because my stomach just couldn't handle it. I had to switch to whole foods quicker than expected, which is obviously just a crazy switch up because I wasn't training with a lot of that stuff going into it. But dude, within the first 6 hours, it obviously battled some stomach pains, but felt really good. I ran the first 95 miles on the same exact pace, a 9:45 pace for the entire 95 miles, other than obviously you have to go to the bathroom, but went right back to it. So I would say it truly didn't truly get physically hard until over 100 miles, where I was like, okay, like we're in the thick of it because I've done some long stuff before, but the most mentally hard thing was obviously just staying in the same spot, hammering the same muscle tissue over and over and over. So just being in that same spot was just absolutely brutal. Looking at the same thing, I was live streaming the entire time, so the thing entertaining was just seeing the comments coming through, and seeing other people supporting me, which is super cool. I mean, it truly was a miracle that I got through even just like the night shift of it because I started
Yeah.
two people walk into the bathroom for me at probably like 3 a.m. And my stomach was just in shambles. I was throwing up and threw up blood, and I convinced myself that it was raspberries. So it got to that extreme. A lot of people don't even know that. I convinced myself that it was raspberries because it was red, and I was like, yeah, it's the same color, so let's do that and say it's raspberries. So that's obviously was an extreme concern because that's probably one of the first steps to getting rhabdo is throwing up
Yeah.
bloods. That was something I had to keep in mind. And looking back on it, I was like, dang, it was just a miracle that I got through that phase or that moment. But the thing with an ultra marathon, man, it's like there's so many highs and lows within that, and you just have to make it to the next high. That low is gonna go away, and I know that because I've been experienced with some of these long runs, and eventually a high came, and then another low came, another high came, and that's just the beauty of the ultra marathon, but especially on that treadmill, man, because you don't know when it's going to come because you're at the same speed, you're doing the same thing over and over, and you're not going to see much of anything different. It's the same thing over and over and over.
Yeah. What about comfort? Because obviously for a lot of people, like chafing is an issue when you're running. When you're just doing a marathon, chafing is an issue. So I can imagine having wet clothes on for 24 straight hours and your body staying wet and obviously not being able to, I mean, I assumed you could change during bathroom breaks, but just functionally, I'd imagine it's difficult to eat, change, do any of that stuff. So how did you stay comfortable throughout the process, especially even with shoes and footwear?
Yeah, so I only changed once. I changed my shirt and my shorts once, probably about 90 miles in. And I had a couple fans blowing on me, so my body temperature wasn't going super crazy, so I wasn't sweating a ton, which was a blessing to not be able to be soaking wet the entire time. Obviously, I was pouring water on myself just because it did get a little hot at times. But other than that, man, I didn't change shoes once. I changed socks, shoes, not shoes, shirt and shorts once. Other than that, just good to go.
That's incredible, dude. So take me back. How did you first get into running? Take me through your story. I've gleaned a little bit looking over your social media, and I think it's something that will truly impact a lot of people to hear because you're at this point and we're seeing you now and you're getting all this attention at this pinnacle of this great thing that you've accomplished. But take me through the story behind it and how this all started.
Yeah, man. So I started running my senior year of college. I ran my first marathon. Or my junior year of college. I ran my first marathon. I didn't really think anything of it. I grew up absolutely hating running. It was a punishment. I played baseball throughout high school and just could not stand it, man. I was literally the guy who was always in last coming in the long runs that we had to do for baseball. And I was like, this is disgusting. How do people enjoy this? This is terrible. This is torture. And just really just fixed my relationship with it. My junior year when I signed up for the marathon, I was like, dang, this is kind of enjoyable. Because I got into weightlifting, lost a ton of weight. I was super overweight growing up as a kid before I lost a lot of weight going into college. So my junior year ran that marathon and it originally got canceled. So I did it on my own because of COVID. It was in 2020 and I had to do it on a trail. So I was like, I'll probably do this and never do it again because COVID happened and I couldn't run an official race. I was like, this is brutal. Did that, had some fun, and then took a big hiatus until my senior year. And then I just had this ambitious goal of signing up for a full distance Ironman. And I was like, I don't even know how to swim. I didn't do a swim team growing up or anything. Had to teach myself how to swim. Was really just partying like crazy in college. So that was really a big part of my life that I didn't want to give up yet. So was still doing all that and still trying to train for a full distance Ironman. Long story short, ended up doing the Ironman, partially tore my Achilles the week and a half before. Still did that. I was like, because I paid $1,000 for this race, I'm going to do it. Just trained 6 months to do it. And nothing's stopping me from doing this Ironman. So ended up doing the Ironman, got super inspired. And that's actually how I started my Instagram originally. And that's where the name Iron Sned came from, was doing the Ironman in my senior year at college. But anyways, that turned into just a love for the long endurance stuff. And then when I graduated college, that next fall, I signed up for an ultra marathon. And it was a last man standing race, which is 4.1 miles every hour on the hour until the last person quits. Anyways, hired a coach, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna start taking this thing seriously. And when it ended up going to the race, going 56 miles, really small field, but ended up winning the race. So built a lot of confidence from that race. The last man standing. Even had the intention of going 100 miles plus within that race because I was trained and able for that. And then signed up for a 100-mile race 3 months later in April. So ran my first 100-mile race, learned a ton there, ran it in 26 hours, which now at the time is very slow. But when I was there, I was like, okay, that's a pretty decent time. So got that first 100-miler done and was just like, I know there's more in the tank. Like continue to push my limits and get faster at this because it's obviously possible because people are running these things at ridiculous times now. So did that, and just the one thing just led to another and another and another, and ended up. Then I was like, okay, I want to run a fast marathon now. So I transitioned to the marathon, got the Boston qualification, ran a 250 marathon, and then I really just found out that ultra marathons were my thing. Like I really wanted to. I want to become one of the best in the sport and just compete at the highest level. So that's where kind of have all my chips in right now is competing, like working my way up to compete at the highest level in the ultra marathon. So this past December, I actually just ran across the entire state of South Carolina with two of my buddies to raise money for families who have a loved one battling cancer. So after doing that, man, it's just like, it's so beautiful to see that all these stuff that I do, it's incredible, but like I'm always going to have a why behind what I'm doing. I'm always going to be giving back to the community and doing something, these hard things for something bigger than myself, because I realize I've done it in the past of doing these events and these challenges and these races, but doing it for myself and just like that self-glorification of like, it's going to be so empty every single time. Like it's not going to fulfill me. It will bring you that 10 seconds of dopamine and then it'll go away. So just always having that why behind why I'm doing these races and really running across the state just ignited a fire of like, I'm always going to document what I'm doing, and I'm going to tell people why I'm doing it. I'm going to share my story. I'm going to be vulnerable because I've done these crazy things, and I've done it for myself and I've done it for other people, knowing that I'm suffering for a bigger purpose than myself, and doing it for something bigger than me is so much more fulfilling than trying to say that I'm doing this for me and me only, because it's just gets so repetitive and just so empty every single time.
Yeah. Tell me about your faith and how it plays into everything that you're doing.
Yeah, man, the Lord saved me, even amongst this journey. The year after I graduated college, man, I would have told you that Jesus was the Lord of my life, man. I would have said that, he's my Lord and Savior, and I'm fully surrendered to him, man, but I was still living for the world. And I had one foot in, one foot out, and was just doing that until one of my best friends, he's one of my mat carriers, his name is Garrett. He just was like, dude, he sat me down and was like, man, like, I want to hold you accountable in all areas of your life, bro, but I can't keep watching you just live in sin and just directly be open about it. So he was basically like, dude, Jesus wants all of you, not just half of you. And right then and there, I was just like, wow, this is it, man. Like I'm living for such wrong reasons. I'm living for the world. And now, man, like ever since being born again and having that just full surrender, full pursuit of advancing the kingdom, man, it's just been a just full steam ahead for that. And now that the Lord has so graciously given me this platform to use running as my vehicle to advance the gospel, it has been so humbling because I've been on the other side of it and doing it for the other reasons, not to glorify him and try to advance the gospel with that. So it's just been beautiful to see how he's just used me in different areas, even when I was blind to it, of him just opening doors, closing doors in the right time and the right reason. So it's been beautiful, and everything that I say, like, and do, like my prayer, these races and stuff, for people to see Jesus in me. So it's super cool to see how he keeps opening these doors for me to just glorify him, just with the platform that he's given me.
Yeah. Tell me about the platform, and as far as like media and people reaching out for interviews, how's that been? And I mean, I know it's a challenge handling all those with scheduling. Obviously, people like me reaching out to you, requesting interviews, wanting to do podcasts and things of that nature. Yeah. How have you kind of prepared for that? And then how have you organized that, and how has that been?
Yeah, dude, to be honest with you, man, super overwhelming. This past month alone has been just crazy. Just thousands of DMs and just really wrestling and really just being intentional with who I'm saying yes to. Just because that's something I struggle with a lot, is just saying yes to too much and not being intentional with what I choose to do. So yeah, man, it's been overwhelming, to say the least. Just getting all this traction and stuff, but just really stewarding what I have in front of me well, and just really being intentional with who I connect with, and obviously want to respond to everyone if I could, but just don't have that bandwidth to do that. So super overwhelming for sure.
So I saw a little bit on your Instagram about specifically this 24 hours on the treadmill challenge that you kind of took on. Tell me a little bit about the cause and the reason why you were doing that challenge specifically.
Yeah. So I raised money for a nonprofit called Quest and Recovery. They're in mental health, 501c3 in Charleston, where I'm from. And they form groups of in college students just to bring them hope and just bring them together for mental health awareness. And my prayer going into this challenge was to just bring the name of Jesus into the mental health space. Just because hope has a name and his name is Jesus. And like, I just truly believe that everyone needs to hear that rather than just trying to say mental health awareness, because there is hope, and because I've seen it. And that really quickly turned into meeting with Quest and meeting with Luke, the founder. He's like, yeah, I want you to honor 70 suicides in the Charleston County. And I was like, dang, that really hits home, because I had previously tried to take my own life when I was struggling with some addictions in my past. And I was like, there's no better way to honor and share my story. And there was a point really where I just was doing social media and posting content, but I wasn't really being vulnerable of my story and just being intentional with that, of sharing my whole heart and my story of like, dang, I really have been through the thick of it and the lowest of lows, and being transparent with people about that. So just really, this 24-hour challenge has just given me such a glimpse of confidence of what sharing your story and being vulnerable and intentional with people can really do, and the doors that it opens up for conversations and, connecting with people and guys like you who are just super passionate about what they do, and just for us to connect, and which is just super humbling and grateful that I get to do this. So yeah, man. So it ended up just being super grateful the way that it all worked out, because it got to connect my own personal story with aligning with the mission, what we were honoring. And it's just been super cool to see the feedback and response of like, dang, I didn't have the courage to say something, but you did. And as something as simple as running on a treadmill for 24 hours brought awareness to suicide awareness. Like, it's just beautiful to see how it all worked out in the end.
Yeah. I think one of the really interesting things about, especially when Christians specifically follow passions and then they move through those with the faith that it's going to, whatever that they're doing is going to work out, whether that be not necessarily financially, or maybe it's not going to be like fame to the highest degree, but it'll work out in 10 months down the road when you've been doing this for so long and you make all these different connections and you meet all these different people. You realize that the impact that you get to make on these people is worth more than whatever fame or amount of money that you could have made off of it. So I think that's really special. And I think you are at a point where you are being gifted by God this platform, obviously, and you're seeing the fruits of that at the moment. So tell me about some of the cool people that you've met through your journey. And then obviously, I assume you're not running all of these alone. Tell me about some people that have helped you with training.
Yeah, man. It's been super encouraging to see. So just to put it in perspective with the 24-hour challenge, man, I didn't run, and to bring it back on the challenge, I didn't run a single hour alone. Like, my community, the church body, I had 2 people beside me the entire time. Didn't run a single hour alone at all, which was just so cool, just to see people wanting to show up for something as simple as running on a treadmill for 24 hours, which sounds absolutely insane. And just seeing the people come to support me and just rally behind me is just super humbling. Just because my yes just opened up so many doors. My prayer was going into it that just the Lord would move in such a big way, like online, in the gym, because I know there's non-believers that were in the gym. It's to see like what's different about these guys. Why do they love this guy so much? Why are they so passionate about supporting this guy and what he's doing? And the Lord's just softened a lot of hearts, which has been so beautiful. But yeah, man, just the Instagram DMs, man, there's just been so many stories of people just like being vulnerable with me and just saying, like, thank you for doing this. You have no idea. I lost my mom, I lost my brother, I lost my sister's suicide. And what you did just brought me such a smile on my face and brought me hope that there's people out there fighting for the stigma that is suicide. And just getting to see those messages, I never take for granted the opportunity that is presented in front of me. It just gives me such a passion and a fire and just confirmation that the Lord has me right where he wants me right now. And just leaning into the calling that he has for me right now, which is just, it's so beautiful, because it, obviously, like you were talking about, it's just like, yeah, like I trust in God's plan and God's gonna open these doors, but like to see how hard I have to work in these running, in these different stuff, and just like truly just laying it at his feet of like, yeah, like God, I just want you to be glorified. God, I want you to move through these events. And it's just been so freeing getting to do this stuff. And like, no matter the result, no matter the end distance that I get, like that's never going to be my identity, and it's never going to bring me any shame of like, I get to do this. It's not it's not a requirement, and I get to do this stuff to glorify him and just let people see him in me. And being able to do that is just a gift I'd never take for granted ever.
Yeah. I think the unique part about distance running, especially ultramarathon running, which is a whole nother level to even marathoning, is the fact that there is a dark place that you have to go to be successful at it. And you're going to hit these valleys and these troughs several times throughout every race, and you have to know that those are coming and you still have to push through them. Whereas maybe in a shorter race, there's not necessarily that time to really think and sit in, to be quite honest, just the shit. You have to sit in the shit for so long and just wallow in it. And I think it's a metaphor for life as well. So what are some of the strategies that you've learned both outside of running and within running to help people get through maybe when they're in a really dark place?
Yeah, man, really good question. For me, like just being in that pain cave, knowing that it's gonna come, like just like you said, man, it's a metaphor for life. Like crap's gonna hit the fan. Like you're gonna get punched in the mouth, but how you respond to is how you respond to it. Obviously, it sounds so cliche to say, but like what you turn to when stuff gets hard shows you where your heart's at. You know, like if like for me in the past, it was the bottle, it was the girls, it was everything else but the Lord. And seeing that perspective now of like, when life gets hard, I'm going to pray about stuff. I'm going to tell people about the stuff that I'm going through. I'm going to be vulnerable rather than going back to the bottle, going back to the point, like whatever it is that the world has to offer, I'm running it completely away from that. So just with this challenge, man, I'm just like, for people to see me in the absolute pain cave in the hurt locker for 18 hours, they're like, dude, like, how do you do this? I'm like, I have no answer. I'm just like, my strength comes from the Lord and that's it. Just to see that if it was for me and it was my own strength, I wouldn't have gotten through it. And just being able to be so transparent with people and open and honest about that, it's like, dude, my strength comes from the Lord and the Lord only. Because if it was for me trying to just crawl out of this hole, crawl out of this low spot in my life on my own, I would be doomed. Because I promise you, I've tried to do it with my own strength. I've tried to carry that backpack with me on my own, and I failed every single time on my face, almost wanting to take my own life because I didn't think I have a purpose on this earth. So just knowing that valley that you're in, there's always a mountaintop for it. So just continue just to put one foot in front of the other and keep pushing towards whatever you're trying to get out of, and just knowing that you are loved and your story matters, and continuously going back to your identity and what the Lord says about you every single time.
Yeah, that's really special. Tell me about, what do you have planned coming up? I mean, you've done some incredible, amazing things like running across the state of South Carolina, this 24-hour challenge, all these different ultra marathons. What's next for you and what's coming down the pipe?
Yeah, man. So me and my business partner, we actually host a race in Charleston. We did it last year, and it's called the Stony 100. It's 100 miles around a track to raise money for a mental health nonprofit as well for underprivileged kids called Charleston Hope. So we run 400 laps around a track for the 100-mile distance. So I've got that in about 6 weeks coming up on May 8th. So I'll be going for a 100-mile PR where I did it last year. So got that coming up quick. So there's no really rest other coming down from the treadmill challenge.
What does the training look like for that?
Yeah, so my coach has me on just like just to build back up. I'll have 2 weeks of like hard training and taper down because my fitness is already there. I just have a naturally good base because I've just been training for so long, and it's obviously coming off a big high volume block from the treadmill challenge. So I think I'll probably peak for my long run about 35 miles on a Saturday. But other than that, man, it's just 70, 80, 100-mile weeks, and then we'll taper down for the last two.
What are you doing for a day job during all this? Because obviously this takes a lot of time out of your day, right? So, I mean, what are you doing during the day to earn money and kind of support yourself while also having to have the time to train?
Yeah. So I coach full-time online. So I have all my athletes structured just to program for them throughout the week. So I'm grateful to be able to do that. Obviously wasn't able to do that I had to work. I went the corporate route for a little bit, was selling wine at a big distribution company, and then obviously got to the position where I could take on athletes and coach them through whatever they're going endurance-wise, and just have the time now, which I'm super grateful for. And that's why when people ask me like that, it's like I get to coach. Being able to do that is definitely a blessing.
Yeah, that's really unique. So tell me just a few last questions here to close things out.
Yeah, man.
What do you think keeps you going when you know that times are getting tough and you know that you have these races coming up? Like, obviously you've done some amazing things. You could hang it up tomorrow if you wanted to and say, you know, I've raised a lot. I've done my part. You know, I've spread the gospel. I've raised awareness. What is kind of the end game for this, and what keeps you going to the next race?
Yeah, man. For me, man, I would just say, I just know that the Lord has gifted me with this, and I just want to continue to press on, because I just know that this is the platform and the gifting and the calling that He has for me right now, and I just never want to meet the version of myself that I wish I could have become. And obviously, there's different levels to that for every single person. And I just am constantly just pushing for that next thing. I would like truly want to see what is possible within this. And like, you know, if that takes for me to continue doing this for the next 30 years, it takes 30 years. You know, I'm just never going to stop putting my foot on the gas and doing that next hard thing to inspire people what's possible. Because I promise you, I've been on the lowest of lows. And if I can do it, anyone out there can, if they have the physical capability to do that, for sure.
Yeah. What's your message to somebody else that's watching this and watching these arc of races that you're doing and maybe wants to get into the sport or is maybe even struggling in their own life with something? The same way you mentioned that you were in college and before that, prior to even something so big as like a suicide attempt, what would be your advice to somebody else that's in that deep trough in life?
Yeah, man, just to keep running your race. I think the biggest thing for me especially was, you know, I just know the end goal is eternity with the Lord. And yes, obviously my salvation is safe, but I just want to continue to press on, like not look down at my feet, just continue to look forward. Because even in my past, man, just comparison is such a thief of joy. And I look to what's going on my left and my right, and every single time it would just lead to just shame and guilt. And rather than just, and especially it ties into endurance, man, because people ask me like, how do I get started? It's like, I started with a 5K. I started with a mile. Like I couldn't do all these things all at once. And to just start slow and truly run your own race in life with your spiritual journey, with your endurance journey, like it's yours. Like it's not someone else's. It's not Ben's. It's not Tanner. It's like, it's yours. And to be solely focused on that and knowing that you have a gift and becoming who God has called you to be, like you're only going to find that out by taking that first step. You know, it's not someone else's journey. It's not someone else's trouble. It's yours. Taking accountability of that and being able to press on for that is the way you just have to run your race, is what I tell people.
Super special, man. You're doing some great stuff. Where can the people find you?
Yeah, man. So my Instagram is IronSned, and my business is called Revitalize You Training.
Awesome. Well, we'll send people your way, and I'll be following. I'll be watching when you do that track challenge, and I look forward to seeing it, man. And I wish you the best of luck and Godspeed.